All right, welcome back, everybody, to episode 29's after show. Are you guys making fun of me behind the scenes there? Are you making fun?
No, he's not the first guest to do it either. Like, when you start doing the countdown at, like, 5, some of our guests are like, pre-pot now. I'm like, who does that? I pre-pot at, like, 1 so that my pot is, like, there.
But I don't want to bleed in. I don't want to bleed into the show, though. But to be fair, I think I did indirectly because now we're talking about that instead of the after show.
It's the
no.
Mission failed.
Why did you pre-pot at 5?
I didn't want to say pre-pot into the show.
I know some classes do because they have like a cast. Like
pre-pot,
like,
but
really
what do DKs have?
I don't know.
We pre-pot. Oh.
Hey, you have Army of the Dead. You got to channel.
This is a DK asking, but
channel. Well, don't
I pot at 1.
Don't DPS DKs channel Army of the Dead and then pot, right? Do they channel it enough time to have like their pot from 2
exactly.
to 1?
That's what I do.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I mean, Army scales with pots so that you can just
use it after.
Yeah, you Army first and then pot.
It doesn't snapshot because I think most things nothing snapshots much anymore except a couple dots.
Oh, I don't know. Things snapshot all the time. Many cooldown snapshot.
Yeah, but not pets though. Like wolves don't, totems don't. Does your guardian pet snapshot in or no? Like stuff like that doesn't. So.
Well, he's stack strength, so things snapshot off him. But
I don't know.
But I mean, the best thing in the world is definitely having a poll get canceled and then watching the armies just sit there and look all sad, and Magdalena's like. Oh, it's the best thing. I love their pain.
It's like DKs and Warlocks have that, right? Because if you miss a pull or you wipe after a pull, army's on cooldown, and then so is like their huge demon cooldowns, like the Doom Guard or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't actually wipe, then it's on cooldown, so you can't use it unless you reset the boss.
Correct. Yep. So that's too bad. But if you guys have questions, we turn some music on in the background here. Boop.
Oh, yeah, we have an after show to do. That's right.
Yeah. I know there was one earlier that was asking about why you would use, or why you wouldn't use Death Coil versus something else.
Was that? Oh, yeah. Basically,
it costs more, does less damage, and does the same like proc effect. So.
Well, below a certain level AP, after like 230 AP, it actually becomes more damage per execute. And like we were saying earlier, with global cooldowns being the way they are, with our resources, you can actually put a lot of death gloves in the field if you have enough AP and have it be a significant DPS increase. So.
Okay. Yeah, if it's an actual way, I know it was asked earlier in chat a couple times, but we can't always address questions during the main show, because we have so much to get through in the first place, but that's what the after show's here for. We'll sit here for like 20 minutes after and talk to you guys. So I had a big one that came in on the email. I'm going to read this out real quick. Oh my goodness, it's like a paragraph, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with who Ketsuki on Arthas US is. Viciousness, as it were. So I'll read the whole thing. Nothing bad. There are some blood DKs out there that deter away from the meta build and gem reforge differently, which is not a bad thing. Experimenting is always welcome in our trade, but my question is about the DKs who decide to do things completely different and then refuse to provide the math and become tyrants and say that all their DKs are doing it wrong and badmouth all those said DKs. So how do you feel about them, and what is your advice if you are an aspiring blood DK and would like to deter away from the meta?
That sounds like a personal problem.
I know, right?
I mean, like, there are two ways to look at it. One is if you're not doing like hardcore progression and you're not like taking raiding super seriously, then as long as it works, I mean, it's a game. You don't have to.
It's a game.
Just because people like me look for optimal and play optimal doesn't mean you have to. It's still a game. It's still your choice. If you want to, if you get more fun out of the game by doing a haste build when avoidance is clearly better, then go for it. I mean, if that's really what you want to do, like it's the same reason like. It's like if I were to convince someone to use, like if someone were trying to convince me to play a tank other than the Death Knight, like they'd have to show me, exactly how it would be better. And like I said, this tier, me not being being a blood decay didn't inhibit our progression in any way. We would have killed the boss the same if I was any other class. So, like for me, I can pick that because that's at that level where it doesn't matter for us specifically. Now, it may matter for, again, world firsters or if a guild isn't as established in terms of DPS and needs the difference in there are other reasons. I don't want to get too distracted, but like, if you want to just do it, I guess it's a game. You don't have to follow like what's optimal if you truly just want to do that for fun. Like, it's not the right theory crafting answer, but I mean, it is an answer.
You talked about earlier in the main show that it seems like you gotta have the leeway to do that. You can kind of do, you can go stamina, you can go mastery, you can go a mix of avoidance. You don't have to stick to a norm, right?
I'm interpreting it as doing something outside the meta as an outside of that, because all that is in the meta. I would say stuff like completely non-optimal.
Strength gemming.
Yeah, like if you're doing that, if you want to do it, you can go ahead. No one's going to say you're optimal, and neither will I. I won't encourage you to do anything of the sort. But if you truly want to do that in the game, it's still a game at the end of the day. If you're not, if you're not deterring your raid from something by doing something unoptimal, that's not like, I'm not saying to do that. I'm trying to like I'm a theory crafter. I want people to do what's optimal, but I also, if it's still a game at the end of the day.
I mean, it's hard to really make a determination on that because it depends on what the goal of the group that you play with. If the goal of the group that you play with is to just have fun, then do whatever you want. And if that's what's most important to you, then you should just play however you want and do however you want. I mean, you have to balance how serious the people that you're playing with are and what everybody around you expects out of you. And if the way you want to play the game isn't the way that they all want to play the game, then you need to make some kind of change. But if you're all just in it to have fun, then do whatever you want. So.
Yeah, fair enough. No, don't dual wield, Tron. No.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. You sacrifice all DPS for absolute no gain. Like, it's never been viable.
Never been viable.
Since the change in Wrath.
And is that really just because of how RuneStrike and Deathstrike work, and they're just such a better damage source with two-handers?
All your spells are just scaled off your main hand or the two-hander, so two-hander is like amazingly better.
Okay. Pretty straightforward, I suppose, in that regard.
I mean, you can do it, you're just going to have like major problems holding threat, especially on the pull. And then you're going to have, your DPS is going to be rock bottom, even for a Blood DK.
Well, I have a question while we're waiting for more questions to come in, if I can just ask one, Bay.
No! Of course you can.
I like to ask, I guess maybe the people who watch the show every week may think some of it's repetitive, but I love getting more of an insight into why people play the class that they do and how they feel about other classes. So I always ask, if you couldn't play your Blood DK for any reason, what would you play instead? What would be your next choice? If you have a favorite alt or something else that you enjoy more, than other classes when you're raiding, what would you play?
I would play either a paladin or a warrior. Don't really like the monk playstyle, and what the warrior and the paladin bring is like the ability to save people's lives who are bad, because someone stands in something and you can lay on hands to them, sack them, intervene, vigilance. It's great. The feeling that you get when you lay on hands someone at
it's like, really good.
2K is absolutely amazing.
It's a great feeling.
That's something that Blood needs. They need something to save people's lives.
Well, hey,
sadly, I usually lay on hands myself, so that great feeling is me saving myself from error.
There is also that.
you could death coil.
You lay on hands someone else. So
that glyph is absolutely terrible. You should not use that. It is not worth it.
No, it's not cool. I mean, the graphic is cool, shooting that giant angry green face at people, but yeah,
the graphic is cool, but if they drop that low, the travel time of deathcore usually means they're dead anyway.
Oh my gosh, a travel time on a life-saving spell is not good.
You got it.
That's not good at all.
Nope. Not gonna
Somebody
happen.
was explaining travel time to me because I'm playing a hunter alt, and I was like talking about different things, and so this whole travel time concept was being explained to me, and I was like, really? Is that really how it works? Like, my things are in the air? It's just dumb.
Isn't it? I don't know how it works, but it's like a ranged based cast time after you shoot it, basically, because different abilities travel faster than others, right? So yeah, it's weird. The missile traveling.
Reniat, what do you think? What was your
my second favorite would have to be Prot Warrior. That's my primary alt right now as a Prot Warrior. I think in terms of it's the least passive of the other 4 tanks. I don't mean that in a bad thing. I'm not saying that the tanks are having more passive stuff is bad, Like I'm just saying, like for me, since I prefer the active mitigation side, that's where I find the engagement of. Like Blood Decay is not super complex in a damage output point of view. Its complexities in the active mitigation. That's what I like it best about it. Prot Warrior is a similar thing. They have to balance, barrier and shield block. I think they have a little more play with their active mitigation than say a monk or a paladin. Not to say that those are bad. I don't want hate email, but
hate tweets.
Me? Rage?
Yeah.
No. So I hear that you should be singing for us. According to Warisa in chat. He's been quite adamant that you've got quite a voice.
I don't. We talked about the Shakira nickname stupid thing at the top of the show. It's just a stem from that. I can't sing. I can't. I will not. I refuse to in any way, shape, or form sing on any form of internet.
I mean, if you want someone to sing on the show, you can go watch the season finale from 2013 where Brutal sings to Coltrane, and I might get him to try to sing on the show again next week.
Best moment. I'm sorry, that moment on Final Boss has not been yet outdone.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Y'all were wonderful this week. All other guests that we've had have been wonderful, but that moment, I was just sitting there like, why am I not there on I'm hanging out with these guys? And then you invite Brutal again when I'm gone.
I know, I'm terrible. I mean, he's like the fallback. Like, we're really good friends, and if I need someone else to help carry the show along, so... And Latomi's been here before, and Ro was our only first guest, but I think it's really going to be interesting to have another raider on the show, a really big community guy that runs the WoW podcast of WoW podcasts, and then a growing YouTuber who does stuff on her own, all the different parodies of music she does. So we'll have a good, little show next week. But I mean, I had to make up something when 2 weeks ago you were like, "Oh, by the way, babe, I'm not gonna be here the 23rd of February. I'm gonna go skiing and bye." What am I gonna do? I gotta do something. Gotta do something.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I was almost thinking about telling people what's gonna be the episode after that, but no, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, they'll have to come next week to watch next week.
I know.
So want to know.
Yeah, we always say who's going to be on the show next week at the end of each main show proper. So, yep. I think he's jealous, Vicious. No, it's just worked out that way. I mean, she was on the show with Brutal last time, but she was in Honduras. So
it's just not the same. That's
you can't
why I
see
love
his
the
goofy
format.
face.
It's why I love the format that we have with the cameras and the video, because you really feel like it's like being on if you've ever done Google Hangout. I used to do Google Hangout with my friends from college when we were all spread around, and it's really a whole lot more like you're in the room with them hanging out. So I was on the show from Honduras, and I did my best, and I did have fun with those guys, but the whole being on webcam with people is just so much more fun. So another time, there will come another time when we will all join one another once more.
It's 230% mastery overkill in 10-man heroic. Can you get that much?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
I don't know. I went full mastery, absolute, bleeding it through my ears mastery in 10-man. Mainly because it just took a lot of pressure off the healers. I could literally just heal myself. I could just solo tank Garrosh if I really wanted to. It would just be the enrage that would be the problem. And that just freed up a ton of raid healing onto the raid. So that's why I did it. And the damage wasn't needed to get to the checkpoints that you had to get to. So while it would have been slightly beneficial, the extra DPS, it was also massively beneficial to have the extra raid healing. Or to free that healing up, rather.
Okay.
At least that's why I did it.
I have another question for you guys if we don't have any more from...
Nothing in the email or Twitter yet. If you guys have questions for our guests, please tweet at us or send us a question down below.
I actually saw one in Twitch chat I'd like to answer.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's from Serendipities. He's curious about runic empowerment and why we say it's not viable. And this has actually been kind of a big thing in the forums recently for some reason. People have been bringing it back. And there is a very clear mathematical answer to why it's not viable. So the other two talents lets you keep on to your FU pairs, which is equal to Death Strike, while you get your return back. Runic Empowerment does not. It requires a fully depleted rune to proc. Which means a fully depleted rune is when you have both the runes of the same type on, gone. That means it's fully depleted. So in order to get an RE proc, you have to put all your death strikes away to get a single death strike back. Now let's look at the average time it would take to get a death strike back after you put your runes fully down. After 2 death strikes, you have a 20.25% chance of getting 2 RE procs back to back at a 45% chance per proc. 40.45 times 0.45 equals 20 or 0.205 or 0.2025. So it's very unlikely that you're going to have one after 2 seconds, which is 2 rune strikes because 1 second global cooldown. So now after 3 seconds, you have 3 rune strikes, and this is a roughly 42% chance to have a death strike back. Now 4 seconds, you have a 60% chance, 61% chance to have it after 4 rune strikes. It's 4 seconds, assuming you didn't spend any GCDs on anything else, and assuming you had runic power to do it all without any delay on these rune strikes. It's a minimum of an average of like 3.8 something seconds between when you put your death strikes down and when you get them back. That's a huge window to take damage in that you simply cannot recover from during that time frame because you will not have a death strike to recover from, and that's average case. Like, it could be worse, it could be better, but it could be worse, and you don't game around the best case scenario when you're talking tanking. So that is the primary reason. You are guaranteed to have significant downtime on availability on death strikes, whereas the other two, you can say that, well, you get unlucky on all of them. You can get lucky with RC. What happens if you get no procs in RC at all for that same amount of time? Well, at least you had the 1 death strike you had when you started trying to get them back. You didn't have to put all of them down. 1 death strike over a course of 4 seconds is a lot better of a situation than no death strikes over 4 seconds. And that's the main reason why runic empowerment is just awful for death strike timing in general. So
that doesn't seem fluid enough.
Right, exactly.
Because you have to.
It's clunky and it doesn't work.
To go back on the whole way you guys tank, you have to know what's coming, and be able to plan around that. And if you have to work on another chance to get the rune after using the spell that doesn't give you what you need, that doesn't seem like it'd be a good idea. Yeah.
Here's another question from Nemitin. How strong is the 4-piece right now for you guys?
4-piece is pretty good. It's a significant damage increase as well as a good survival increase. It gives us all our runes back.
What is your 4-piece? What is the 4-piece?
I'll read it off.
When you dance in rune weapon.
Yeah, when you dance in rune weapon, it gives you back. Sorry, I'll let you do it.
You guys know too much about this class.
When you dance in rune weapon, you all your frost and unholy runes regen as death runes. So basically, you can pop dancing rune weapon and then spam death strikes to your heart's content, really. If that's what you want to do. It's really nice for killing that shredder.
Yes. Yep.
I see.
It works really well with the Makarok trinket as well, because dancing rune weapon's cooldown is decreased to about 1.2-ish minutes as opposed to 1.5 because the cooldown reduction trinket. So that's a really good combo.
I mean, our 4 set has nothing on our 2 set. 100% uptime of Bone Shield. Oh yeah.
Well, 100% up in 10-man maybe.
Well,
you get hard enough in 25-man where your shield isn't up full time, so you do lose stacks. Depends on the fight, but
I mean, it depends on the fight, but you can.
It is still crazy good. No arguments there.
It's amazing. I'm going to keep it in Warlords. I think the loss of the stats, it's worth the gain. I think, at least in the first.
That's a gutsy move. I don't know if I could do that.
I'm gonna do it.
What was your question, Anna?
Here's another question for you guys. I would like to know what your favorite bosses that you've done so far with hardcore content. And if you say Lei Shen, then you have to pick another one because
Lei Shen is
everybody likes Lei Shen. That's
Lei
boring.
Well, I would say Lei Shen, basically because it was amazing. The boss was so well tuned, and Goffein's grip was actually useful. But if you don't accept that one, I would probably say either Black Fuse or Paragons, because the damage you were taking on 10-man and the raid damage was actually insane. So it actually made you want to do something, at least on 10-man, where the other bosses kind of hit like flowers. So
like a bouquet, like just getting.
Yeah, 25-man might be slightly different, but at least on 10-man, those bosses hit hard enough to make you actually enjoy tanking.
I see.
And Ren, what about you?
I have a weird one. My favorite boss is actually it's like a tie between, I'll just say Garrosh, and here's why. It's an awful fight. I don't like the fight, but here's why it's my favorite. Is because I started like tanking seriously and taking the game rating seriously only about 2 years ago, like during tier 14. So I've kind of guild hopped quite frequently to get to the level I have now, from a very, very casual guild that rated 25 heroics very loosely to whatever we're awesome world 16. So this is the first tier that I've actually started and ended in the same guild at the same caliber, at a very high caliber. So it's been really, I really enjoyed downing Garrosh, because that was like the moment where I had finally gone through an entire tier with a guild and been at that level for the entirety of the tier from start to the end of the progression. So that was kind of more of a moment for me than like it was the fight, but that one sticks in my mind a lot. Another one would be Paragons, because this is really hard to verify, a lot harder to verify than your world first 10 heroic garage kill, because the API was so screwed up for the Paragon's kill. But going off of achievements, I think I'm the world first 25-man blood DK to kill Paragons. I could be wrong. I'm not, like, I totally could be wrong on that. Just going off of like achievements and the broken API that they had. And also that same kill that was the world first blood DK Paragon's kill, also our monk tank died 2 minutes from the end, so I had
the hero moment.
Wow, hero moment. The Trekkie! We're going to call it the Trekkie from now on. I think we should call it the Trekkie.
No, every tank has had that moment. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I had Locust with all of his Paragon power stacks, as well as the dual-wielding Wind Reaver with all his stacks. Ugh. And it was I was being hit for like 90% of my health. But Deathstrike timing, it worked.
Deathstrike timing!
I totally understand
and cooldowns
that.
Like crazy, but...
I totally understand how like your progression as a WoW player can really impact your experience of a specific boss. I have a very similar story that I've told before on the show about why Heroic Rag is probably my favorite kill of all time. And it's because I had the same experience that you talk about, where you felt like you finally found the right place and you really feel at home in your guild, at least for me, and it was the highest progression that I'd ever done, and the hardest boss fight that I'd ever done, and I'd spent the whole tier. It was the first full tier that I had spent in my guild, and so that meant a lot to me. So it reminds me a whole lot of what you say about Garrosh, so I totally understand that.
Yep.
I just want to point out that I was the last guy standing on Li Shen as well.
You had one of those moments too.
There you go.
Our shaman anked as the boss died, so I'm not really counting that. Mainly because he did it to ruin my fun, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Our Blood DK had one of those moments on... It was one of the bosses in it was Protectors in tier 14. It was the three guys that you fight, and everybody else in the raid died, and our Blood DK just had all the bosses, and we were like, go, go, go! And he died, and it was such a good feeling.
Nice.
It was really great, yeah. So, I've seen that happen before. It's a really good feeling.
So I have a fun question here for you Archers folks. Ketsuki just tweeted at us. This is for you guys. So, for Archers, with whom does your allegiance lie? With Magdalena, with Nazuvius, or Mugdulu? Is that Mugdulu? Mugdulu?
Your guess is as good as
I'm gonna
mine.
guess that there's a right answer to this question.
So, I guess they're the three mods, or the major mods for Archers. So what about hot seat guys right now, real quick? Do you have allegiances in Archers chat? Is like, what is this? This is fun.
I wasn't aware of it. Apparently we're having a civil war, maybe? I don't know. It's the first I've heard of it.
I only recognize myself, so...
Oh, wow.
See, allegiance is only to himself.
Okay. Yeah. All right, fair enough. It's pretty funny. Nags DK, because a friend of yours or something like that, I don't know, asked boxers or briefs, but
okay,
it's not very serious.
I think that's a bit personal.
Yeah. I was checking Twitter. I'm just checking. It's pretty funny. Every time someone strokes their chin on the show, they are one step closer to summoning Brutal. That's why you see me in the show, is I'm always going like this. I'm cultivating that energy, because when he finally shows up, his beard is just so much better than mine. So, that's what it is. That's what it is. So, anything else? Got a couple more minutes here, like 3 more minutes. Is there any questions people have?
I'd like to point out one thing.
Ah?
I was corrected. I was not the world first Blood Decay on Paragons. Apparently Ascendants did use one. So I retract that statement.
Oh, okay.
But
It felt good for a little while.
yeah, so just now.
Well, if you guys have questions, real quick, you can send them in. Again, if you've missed any of our past episodes or want to see all the past episodes, all 28 of them, and the after shows, you can definitely go over to our YouTube. The link is down below. If you want to hear Brutal sing to Coltrane, yes, the Coltrane from Convert to Raid, he sings to him during our weird intermittent downtime during the middle of the episode that I re-edited back together. You should go check that episode out. It's right here on the front page. He was campaigning for it to be our most watched episode, but I think he's got a long way to go, considering that, where is it? Oops, nope. The Sparkugs episode with Sheena Fey is a bit of a milestone in our episodes. Yeah, it's at 40.9 thousand views. I don't think he's going to beat that, but he can try. So yeah, you can also check out the links are down below to all of our social media. You can go check that out down there. And for announcements and who's coming up next and stuff, that goes on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So yeah.
Ooh, I have another question for these guys that just came in chat.
Okay.
We're still going to be doing that. Do you guys do any soloing? I know the Blood DKs are really good at soloing. And who was it who mentioned this? Sorry, the monk color is ridiculously hard to read. Warriors Ari asks if either of you are into soloing old content.
Not really. I can't really be bothered to get out of Shrine. I mean,
You have to be summoned in the instance 50 yards away.
I mean, rather than soloing Yogg, I just gold capped the black market auction house to get the mount. So yeah, I'm pretty lazy.
Wow. What about you, Ren?
I do not. I don't have time to do that kind of stuff. I do see how it's awesome. I'm not trying to like diminish it. It's just not something I have time for. It's something that I think would be worth having a show on, like and bringing someone who is more qualified than either of us to talk about that. I mean, like my focus is raiding. Like I've climbed from nowhere to whatever awesome in 2 years. Like I haven't time to do much else other than raid, school, and work. So like, it's just not something I do. But there are people in the Acherus community especially who are very into that, and it's a really, really interesting concept. So it might be worth its own individual show, maybe tied into the
Maybe it would be a great idea
thing.
for a show. And perhaps one day we'll see getting some experts on. But I feel that for both of you guys, I've definitely had those lazy moments where I'm like, no, I'm just going to log on and raid and not do anything else. And also that it's just not really my thing to do non-raiding stuff.
Yeah. Nope. Totally understand. I think outside of DK is one of the class that really did solo the harder older stuff, or even current stuff, I guess it was Rogues for a little while there, but that's sort of fallen off. I think Blood DK is the only thing that we hear about big solo stuff like that, but I think that's about it. I don't know anything else you have in chat. Of course, you guys can get us out on Twitter, and the after show's all for questions and stuff like that. If you have questions again for next week's episode, which is going to be our guest grab bag episode, you can go get us on Twitter or the link down below for the Ask a Boss. We're going to have on Server Latomi from YouTube, Row of Realm Maintenance, and my stand-in co-host for the day will be Brutal from different online avenues. He's the GM of Static, one of the top US guilds. But we will see you all for that next week. Again, around the table here, Reniat DK on Twitter from Whatever We're Awesome. Thank you again, sir. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
UltimateZeus, isguild.eu, Inner Sanctum. Thank you, sir. It was fun.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
And our awesome co-host, Anaphiel's on Twitter as well.
Yes, I am.
And if you didn't miss it earlier...
Twitter.com/Anaphiel.
Yep. If you missed it, she's not going to be here next week, so follow her on Twitter to see all of her awesome pictures of her skiing. Yeah, or drinking. Probably more drinking, I think.
Yeah, probably more drinking and more
and
complaining.
skiing at the same time. It's a great idea.
Yes, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I'll have to tweet me and tell me whether snowboarding or skiing is easier to pick up as a total noob. So
there you go. Yeah, help her out. If there's anyone out there that is a aficionado of the powder, then send it over to NFL on Twitter. Let her know if she should see your snowboard for a first timer, and make sure she comes back alive. I kind of like her.
So no trolling me and telling me the wrong thing. Just
no face planting in trees, please. Yeah, don't do that. But yeah, we'll see you guys here next week again for the guest grab bag episode 1 p.m. PST, 4 EST, and 10 CET right here on Final Boss TV. For everyone behind the scenes, all the mini bosses, the guests, and from me to you guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. And yeah, molten coins and stuff. Wait, bye everybody. Bye. Have a good one, guys.